Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hello, I'm Kevin.
And I'm John.
And this is 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger, the podcast where we take a long, hard look back at some of our favorite action movies from the era of Arnold.
Schwarzenegger is the icon of the genre, and we're taking a deep dive into some of these 80s and 90s cult action movies and breaking them all the way down.
We're going to get into the nitty-gritty and examine the good, the bad, the ugly, and the laughable in these movies.
But we're always coming from a place of love. You don't watch these movies as much as we have unless you have a genuine affection for them.
Hey, John, how's it going?
Hi, Kevin.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Okay.
I'm very excited. I'm titillated.
Has the beer taken hold yet?
The beer, no, it has not taken hold. This is that Terrapin Los Bravos.
Ah.
I picked it because it has a skull on it for obvious reasons that we'll get into as we discuss this podcast.
Oh, yes. I'm also delighted to announce that we have a special guest on this episode, my good friend Kyle.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Kyle. Welcome.
This guy is a movie buff.
Well, maybe.
He's got credentials.
Maybe.
He's been talking you up.
He sometimes is compensated for reviewing movies.
Yeah. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, I'm Kyle Pinion. I'm an Atlanta area film critic, a voting member of the Critics' Choice Association, and the vice president of the Southeastern Film Critics Association.
He's the most well-qualified person that's ever spoken on this podcast.
Yeah, you're the only person that should be doing this show.
John and I are going to leave now.
We'll just be quiet. You just talk. We'll interject here and there.
Also, shout out to our friends at the Last of the Action Heroes podcast network.
What's up, guys?
Who picked us up and wanted us to appear as part of their show. We may be stepping on some toes with this series on a Dolph Lundgren movie.
We can call it a multidisciplinary collaboration.
We're going to give it the 6 Degrees treatment. And welcome to everyone who just listens to us the good old-fashioned 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger way. So if you're listening to us there, check out the podcast network. And if you're listening to us on the podcast network, we got a lot of old goodies in our back catalog that you can find by searching 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger wherever you find your podcasts. What are we here to talk about today, fellas?
Well, it's a movie that's near and dear to my heart, like so many of these, and it is 1987's Masters of the Universe.
Yes.
Right now, I'm hearing Bill Conti's epic theme in my head.
Is it epic though?
Yeah.
You liked it?
I mean,
Okay.
it's completely ripped off from the Superman theme from John Williams.
Oh yeah. As much of this movie is
Shamelessly.
ripped off shamelessly, I think. I never saw this movie until recently, so it's new to me. But I enjoyed the shit out of it.
Yeah, you texted me and you're like, it's eminently watchable. I was
Oh
like,
yeah, it's so watchable. It's so watchable. There's not a lot of big names attached to this, and when Dolph Lundgren is like the cloutiest person attached, you got like a deep cut of a movie.
Yeah, there's no mega stars. There are people that have had amazing careers, like Frank Langella and others that we'll get into, but it's like guys,
You're James Tolkien? James Tolkien, the 80s cranky standby guy.
He's my favorite thing in the movie.
Oh,
for
is
sure.
he really? Yeah.
Absolutely. He's incredible. We'll have to keep a tally going of how many times he racks that shotgun.
Yes.
Because he does it every single time, and after you wrecked it once, you'd just be ejecting unspent shells with subsequent racks.
Correct. And no one knows where he got extra ammunition.
Oh, he's loaded up, man.
Yeah, I guess so. It's full of in his pimp-ass coat.
As we do, we'll quickly run through the dudes and ladies associated with the film. Directed by Gary Goddard. This is basically it for him.
The only other thing that I knew, and I don't know if you guys ever saw it, was his short-lived Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future series.
I
Had the
never heard of
toys.
that.
Had the
I did
toys.
too. I did as well.
You pointed them at the TV, and if they shot you, your guy would come flying out of the plane.
That's amazing.
It was badass.
That's like some space age shit.
Yeah, it was a pretty interesting looking show.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that show, and I don't mean to get into a tangent, but like the head writer
what
on
we
that
do.
show is J. Michael Straczynski, who would go on to create Babylon 5.
Okay.
Which, you know, a cult classic from the
classic.
90s. So, yeah, there was a lot of talent attached to that show. Gary Goddard, he was one of those producer types that has, like, that created a lot of things, but never was behind the camera much. So, Masters of the Universe was like his one shot at that. And,
He wrote and directed a lot of the short films that were part of theme park rides.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Like, I think the Terminator 2 and some other stuff. He also directed the little Finding Nemo ripoff that you can watch at the Atlanta Aquarium.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That I didn't know.
Yes. But apparently the director saw his, he directed the Conan Stunt Spectacular at Universal Studios, and that's where the good folks at Canon found him, and we're like, this is our guy.
They're like, that's my favorite ride. Get him. We need him.
Do you think we could get him? Written by David Odell,
Who wrote Dark Crystal.
Killer. Supergirl he wrote, and a bunch of other Jim Henson stuff.
Yeah, a lot of
like
Muppet
stuff on
shit.
the Muppets, Muppet specials and
Which
stuff.
is awesome.
Co-writing credits for a guy named Stephen Tolkien and Gary Goddard, the director.
Yeah.
Produced by Menahem Golan and Yoram Globus.
The Dream Team.
You know these
My
two.
heroes.
Yeah.
If you know their work, the guys behind Canon Films just cranked out amazing 80s action stuff.
Yeah, in collaboration with Ed Pressman and his company, who had bought the rights to the movie before the cartoon had even aired.
Really?
Yes.
So that's why it has no bearing or like no resemblance to, to the cartoon.
Mattel apparently gave permission for what like action figure characters could be used, but that's also why there aren't many in the movie that
And a lot
cross
of original
over.
characters?
Yeah. Like Beastman, He-Man, Tila, Man-at-Arms, Skeletor, and Sorceress, I think were the...
Yep.
And then there's
Karg.
countless others that are left out.
Yeah. Music by Bill Conti, who
Yeah.
he might have the most like storied of a career of anyone on this film.
This movie was edited by Ann Coates.
Yes, Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah. And
That's impressive.
And fucking Elephant Man. Like, I mean, so she had an amazing career.
Editing is such a weird thing. It's like being a cinematographer.
In a
I feel
way.
like you can go from a prestige movie to just a paycheck movie.
Oh, sure. That guy Lee Smith, who edits all those Christopher Nolan movies. He did 1917 pretty recently, won an Oscar
That's
for it.
amazing.
Oh, yeah. Incredible work, in the editing room. But then, he'll edit junk, in between. It's Stuart Baird, another, famous editor, same thing. You bounce around.
We had something. There was some. I can't remember now, so it'll chop out. I'm gonna abort right now because we're under a time crunch.
Okay.
But Bill Conti. Back to Bill Conti. Rocky. The
Yeah,
Rocky
sure.
themes were his. The Karate Kid, close to my heart. Amazing music in the Karate Kid movies. The American Gladiators theme song. And this,
Yeah.
which is just a mashup of a bunch of influences.
Yeah.
Inspirations.
Yeah, definitely. It's sort of it is a mashup of Superman and Close Encounters, I feel like. Just
There's definitely some riffs that are straight out of Karate Kid as well, that I noticed. Or even later Karate Kid movies, which might have come out after this. So maybe Karate Kid, he was ripping himself off.
and he
was
also
ripping his He-Man
he
themes.
also rips off Gustav Holst's The Planets in the score,
Okay.
which we talk about all the time.
I'm
It's
gonna
like
take your word
we
for it.
talk about
Everyone
it all the
does.
time. It's like, yeah, every composer that wrote action movie music ripped off Holst. Anyway, fuck it. Bye.
Who's in our cast, John?
Dolph Lundgren as He-Man, calling this role the lowest point of his career as an actor.
Which I bet that's not true, to be
No.
honest. This was his second big role after Rocky IV.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, second or third big movie.
Yeah, he did The Punisher, which
Yeah,
I really
but-
liked his Punisher.
That movie's worse than Masters
Is
of the
it really?
Universe. Yes.
I haven't seen it since I was young.
Oh, man. You know how many times I fell asleep during that movie as a kid? Oy.
I got to revisit it. And he did Universal Soldier, which is a guilty pleasure of mine.
Sure, yeah.
Apparently, he was the only guy who was cast from the get-go. on this movie. Like, when they approached the director, they said, "Do you want to direct the He-Man movie starring Dolph Lundgren?" Like, he was the first name attached.
I could see it. It's a hard role to cast.
He also had he had some heat probably after Rocky IV.
Yeah.
But
we
also,
haven't heard him talk yet, really.
Does anyone feel like He-Man is barely in this movie?
Barely.
Oh, yeah.
He barely
It's like
factors
just
into
the
it.
star that's it's just not. He's not even the movie.
No, he's a smaller part than Gwildor. Guaranteed.
Oh, Billy Barty's basically the star of this movie, right behind
that's
Franklin
true.
Langella.
I was going to say
Langella.
Skeletor and Gwildor are the stars. Speaking of Frank
interesting.
Langella, like as Skeletor, he apparently loved this role, and it shows because he brings it.
He went for it.
Just
I love
relishing
that.
it. Courtney Cox is Julie. Before this, had done the Springsteen video.
That's where she got
some
found,
murder
yeah.
she wrote. An episode of Love Boat.
It was better things after for her. Clearly, Friends,
Yeah.
the Scream franchise, Ace Ventura.
The guy that plays Kevin, that's Robert Duncan McNeil, who in his teens lived right here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Shit.
So there you go. Chelsea Field as Tila, remembered for her role as the flight attendant in Commando.
And I saw that she was Bruce Willis's wife in The Last Boy Scout.
And Kyle, you had an interesting tidbit about Chelsea Field.
Yeah. I mean, she's married to Quantum Leap star Scott Bakula in real life, which
The universe is weird.
makes sense to me.
Yeah.
As soon as I heard it, I was like, "Yep, makes sense."
Yeah,
I love that.
John Cipher, and maybe the only role he ever had. I don't recognize him at all as Duncan / Man at Arms.
No, he did a lot of TV work, according to my research.
Yeah.
He was in almost every 70s and 80s series that you could think of for one episode.
Legendary Hollywood little person Billy Barty as Gwildor, who was also in things like later in life, in Willow, Legend, tons of other stuff, both physical and voice acting. Just
He was doing awesome things in the 80s, like fantasy
super busy.
realm.
And then I don't know if you guys recognize Christina Pickles as the sorceress. She's in fucking everything now.
No, I didn't recognize her.
Yeah,
She's now?
Yeah, she's still like rocking and rolling.
Is she
in Hollywood.
playing the grandma now?
She always plays like a mom or a grandma. Yeah.
Okay.
The thing that I saw her most recently on is like a Tina Fey produced comedy show that I saw on Netflix called like Great News or something like that, and she plays like some tyrant grandma or something. Anyway, and then Meg Foster is Evil Lynn with crazy eyes, and then the lovable, irascible James Tolkien as Detective Lubick.
He's like the dude. I'm Principal Strickland from
Yeah.
the Back to the Future series, Top Gun.
Top Gun
You're flying a cargo plane full of rubber dog shit
out of Hong Kong.
Wait, wasn't he in Problem Child?
Yes, or the sequel at least.
Yeah,
He's in
yeah.
so much shit.
Always playing.
He was in Dick Tracy.
The same character.
He's got one mode. He's got one mode.
Irascible
That's why when you
ass
see him
kicker.
laugh in this movie, it just tickles me. Like when he starts giggling about how the cosmic key works. It makes me happy to see him do anything other than just scream in someone's face.
He's great. And then that's our cast and crew.
Yeah.
I was excited about this movie from the get-go when I was a kid because of a personal, deep and abiding love for He-Man.
Oh, yeah.
I
had the
all the
toys.
action figures.
Battle Cat.
All of them had Battle Cat, had Castle Grayskull, had Snake Tower.
They were rad toys, man.
Yeah, they were awesome. I guess we'll talk about a movie.
Yeah.
You guys feel like it?
I'm up for it.
All right, so this thing kicks off with that Canon logo, so you know that's quality, baby. Golden Globus production.
When those two little pieces clank together, you can just feel it.
Yeah, in your bowels. This is going to be a ride. A voiceover over an image of Castle Grayskull.
Wait. The blue screen with the font off the top, like the
It's
opening
shining.
titles.
Yeah.
That was the shittiest thing I've ever seen. That was like that the shade of blue you get when there's no input on the TV.
Right.
And then it looked like some educational home video thing, or like it was the font was just insane.
Yeah, they were like, do what you can, make it look as nice as you can.
Or as cheap as you can. I don't know. It was it was
whatever money you have left over, do what you can. And so
you
it
felt
was
like you felt like you were seeing the version you weren't supposed to see, like the working version. We'll fix this later.
I mean, when you have a Starfield like that, though, I was hoping for Superman style credits coming at you.
Well, that's what it cranks into in a minute.
Yeah,
right?
but those opening title things is gross. Does anyone else think that the Grayskull animation sort of looks like the castle in Dark Crystal? And is there a reason for that? It does.
I mean, I just thought it looked like a straight up painting.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it was.
It's fine.
But it's like, you didn't even build a model? You couldn't build a model for me?
They spin it all in
You
the
could have brought a
opening
toy
credits.
from the toy set
I don't know.
and shot that.
It does not look anything like, and I guess because it preceded the cartoon, it doesn't look anything like Castle Grayskull.
Well, the castle and the toy version of the castle is small. I don't remember the cartoon version. Was it to scale? The one that's in
It was big.
The
and
toy that you got was like the size of someone's home. It wasn't like what you think of as a castle.
No. I mean, you couldn't fit the whole castle.
He
It was the
even had to
Technodrome.
duck to fit through the door.
Exactly. So we get a voiceover saying, at the center of the universe, at the border between light and dark, stands Castle Grayskull. For countless ages, the sorceress of Grayskull has kept the universe in harmony, but the armies of darkness do not rest, and the capture of Grayskull is ever most in their minds. For to those that control Grayskull will come the power to be supreme, the power to be almighty, the power to be masters of the universe. And at that point, you're free to leave the theater.
John, you have to explain the rules to Kyle.
So Kyle, the rule is that as soon as anyone says the full title of the film that you're watching, you're free to go.
Okay.
You may
out.
leave.
All right,
if you want. That's a bridge too far.
Yeah, it's like, Jesus. Okay, fine.
But it does get said in most movies. We got what our friend Spencer's like thing. He likes to keep a count when he watches the movie. How many times the title?
How many times did it say Halloween and Halloween? You know,
and sometimes it's like you're happy to sit there. And this was one I'd probably be having thoughts.
Yeah.
Even at this point of walking out.
So
like,
and this is where, Kyle, you are 100% correct that these extended opening credits they are straight ripped. The music, the style that they were going for is all like
the colors,
Superman
like the
rip-off.
sort of rainbowish colors around the letter. Yeah, it's just everything about it. Everything. Sorry, I can't stop thinking about it. We have to move on.
Okay, so when we finally get to it,
it's prolonged.
Yeah,
the opening credits. It's like Superman.
Yeah,
they thought they were making an epic. For sure, when they made Masters of the Universe.
So after some time, we finally get down to it. We come out of an explosion, and we see prisoners being rounded up by dudes in black armors, very Darth Vader-shaped helmets and shit, on a rugged desert landscape with Castle Grayskull off in the distance, and there are like fires burning and smokes rising in the distance as well. And we cut to Skeletor entering a great hall, walking towards a throne, staff in hand, and also holding something. We don't know what it is.
Instantly evocative of Star Wars.
Sure.
Yeah. Like, it's like when the Emperor enters a room or whatever, but the dudes were the stormtroopers, I'll call them, were like straight up wearing Darth Vader helmets, the shape of it.
Yeah.
Which I think was inspired by Nazi helmet shape as well.
Right.
But still.
And here, this is where like Conti ripped off the Holst music for the plane. It's like da 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 dun 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 da 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 dun. And also, when the door closes, the thing on it looks like looks like a Skeksis from Dark Crystal.
Oh, really?
It looks like one of the bad guys. I'm just like, what's happening here?
I felt like a lot of stuff was being recycled in this movie.
There's a network of walkways over what appears to be a bottomless pit. Skeletor asks...
The set was amazing. It was huge. The throne room set, or the Great Hall, or whatever it is.
Well, it's the only part that actually looks like something out of He-Man, the cartoon.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, literally, if it's the only impressive piece that they even like tried to put any sort of imagination from the cartoon and the toy, like comic books, into the actual film. Everything else is it's like an anonymous beach in Palm Springs or something. You know?
Down in the bowels of the castle, it was like some MC Escher shit happening down there, like these interconnected staircases and stuff like that.
Apparently that was the biggest soundstage in Hollywood, or the biggest set built in Hollywood in 40 years at that time.
It was like 2 sound stages that they knocked out a wall between, and
insane.
That's what I read. But did it register to you guys watching that the stormtroopers are meant to all be robots?
No. Not even when sparks fly, when He-Man or whoever hits them. I didn't realize until after going back and doing research for this that they weren't supposed to be people.
Basically, they had a deal with Mattel that He-Man wasn't allowed to kill anyone on screen. So they made everyone robots.
The amazing thing is the mark against this movie is that it was too violent for like families and stuff.
Is that what people say?
Oh yeah, when people were leaving the film, it's a big part of the reason why it wasn't like a huge hit, because people thought, no, He-Man, it's too grim, it's too violent.
Maybe Mattel knew what they were talking about.
Maybe.
But they didn't make it clear. There's nothing about the army that reads as robots.
No, not at all. Skeletor asks for an update from his lieutenant, a woman, Evil Lynn, which is kind of awesome. with unnatural piercing blue eyes. And everything that I read was like they swore up and down that those were contacts. Like, no, those were her actual crazy blue eyes.
Yeah.
She tells him their army has seized the city and the castle, and they almost have the Thenurian. Whatever that is.
As I was watching, I was thinking, like, this is clearly a society built on the wearing of capes.
Yes.
Like, what is... Did people ever wear capes in a real-world setting ever in history?
Sure.
What was the upside to having a cape on?
It looked cool.
Okay, like, are you saying that in some point in history, Middle Ages or something?
Yeah, if you look at
Renaissance, people were wearing capes?
paintings of like kings and nobility and things, those people had like large ermine cloaks that draped down to the floor.
Yeah, I mean, Napoleon wore a cape.
Okay.
I mean,
Knights wore capes.
Yeah, I mean, well, even as late as World War I era, they were like some of the Prussian lords wore capes.
I feel like it served dual purpose in keeping muck off you while you were riding, if wearing it correctly, and then also you drape yourself in it if it was cold.
That's cool, man.
Anyway,
I'm into it.
What's a Thenurian?
What's a...
Skeletor is like cut to the chase. Where's He-Man?
That's what we are all asking.
The leader of the
I think
resistance.
when we're watching this movie, where the fuck is He-Man?
Yeah, where's He-Man at? Evil Lyn tells him they'll soon have him. Skeletor wants He-Man kneeling at his feet. Evil Lyn says, after all this time, Grayskull is ours, and Skeletor's quick as he sits on the throne to point out, no. He's like, no, mine.
I dig it.
This is the first of many just epic screams from Frank Langella. Like, this whole movie is just like getting after it. His voice acting, because you don't get to see his face, is superb.
I also liked how Evil Lyn just stared right down the barrel of the camera.
Yeah.
When she just stares straight through that lens.
Right.
I spent most of my childhood believing Evil Lyn was played by Kirstie Alley.
I can totally see that. The resemblance is sort of uncanny.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's at that moment in that screen take that we get our first good look at Skeletor's face, and the face makeup that prosthetic is badass.
It is good. It's good, right? What is he? Is that supposed to be bone?
Yeah.
Or is that supposed to be like flesh? Is he just some different type of creature?
In the cartoon / action
Well, in
figure,
the cartoon,
it's skeleton.
It's a hard skeleton. Like, this thing has fucking lips.
That's
true. He's got lips with teeth behind it. So I don't know. It just made me wonder if he's supposed to be just some
Like
other type of alien
Could
species.
be, yeah. We hear a disembodied voice say, "The power of Grayskull is not yet passed to you." That's the sorceress who Skeletor then taunts. She says, "You haven't won as long as He-Man's alive." Then he zaps her with some sort of ray shield that she's behind that sort of looks like something from Star Wars, and tells Evil Lyn, "Turn on the holosphere," or whatever the fuck that is.
He's winning points for me already.
Yeah.
Skeletor is killing it. I love a good villain, and like he's just taunting the sorceress and everything. I'm digging all of it.
So holosphere turns on, which we surmise is like some form of mass communication, because a hologram of Skeletor pops out into the open in Eternia, sort of like multi-directional, and Skeletor starts to deliver this message to the people of Eternia, telling them, hey, the war is over, Sorceress is my prisoner, her power is now joined to mine, and that my first decree is that everyone better fall in line or else. We see He-Man, finally, watching Skeletor from the side of a mountain or something.
What's he wearing?
He's wearing a cape.
He's wearing nearly nothing. Also, like
that's at least true to the action figure.
an incredible mullet.
Yeah,
Also.
Yeah.
it's braggable.
It's just that was the era, man. A cape and a mullet is a strong look for 1987.
Yeah, he's wearing some sort of like cross harness up top with some like shoulder pads or something.
Just briefs.
Yeah,
Just
and
briefs.
some briefs, which is
Like wrestling
really,
tights,
Wrestling tights,
basically.
yeah.
really true to what He-Man wore in the cartoon and in
True.
the action figure. So we then cut to some footage of prisoners being marched by stormtroopers through this valley.
It's more like matte paintings galore.
Right. Including some soldiers carrying something or someone in a net. He-Man's sort of been taking all this in and then just ambushes a group of bad guys. We get close-ups of muscles.
It was muscle porn.
Lots of grunting. Ugh! Ugh!
Dolph Lundgren's his facial expression never changes.
No.
He's just like a stone-faced mask.
Or he looks sort of like he gets a Stallone-style grimace. He's just like... barely. That's it. That's the
Well,
extent.
he learned under Stallone. He tutored under Stallone on
Literally,
Rocky
also,
IV.
we get our first glimpse of He-Man's weird, unique fighting style, which is he's able to deflect blaster bolts with the sword of Grayskull.
Yeah.
The sword that, even for him, he needs two hands to operate. And he'll like grab a blaster, but you get the feeling that everything is like made to scale because he's having a hard time maneuvering with everything. He's not comfortable holding the giant long blaster. He's not comfortable holding the sword in one hand. And He-Man, correct me if I'm wrong, according to the lore that we have available, is supposed to be super strong.
Right.
I mean, the sword is where he derives his power from.
Yeah, he does, but he still has power at that point. He's basically Thor.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
The Sword of Grayskull is like Mjolnir, so
That's a great comparison.
The world is a weird combination, and this scene points out of like futuristic technology plus barbarian shit.
Right.
Like what the sword is useless for him at this moment.
And it's so
He should have
interesting.
two
Like,
blasters.
you point out that like he's supposed to derive, or at least his power to Grayskull is somehow like the sword is a conduit, in some way. But the sword figures barely at all, almost like He-Man himself in this movie.
Well, yeah, it was like that's. I kept thinking like, when's the sword going to be important? And the answer is never.
Yeah, not at all.
Was that a hallmark of the cartoon? Like they had tanks and stuff, but then also swords.
Yeah, there were characters
Right?
that used a lot of tech.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there were like robot characters. I mean, there were snake people. I mean, there were all kinds of like
Yeah.
In
mixture of stuff.
I felt like in Star Wars it made more sense. Like they at least make mention of that a lightsaber is like an antiquated,
Right.
an antique style of weapon to be using.
For a more civilized.
But you could also deflect a blaster shot back at the person.
Right.
And
Well, I mean, Kevin,
so it's as good as a blaster.
the whole
sort of.
concept is just advertisement for new toys. So every
Yes,
time they had a new
exactly.
toy, it was like, well, this is the guy who has 3 heads. So and we're going to call him Triple Header or whatever his name was. I don't even remember. But yeah, I mean, so they just made it work somehow, and it was combining all these different
I
things.
loved it too.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
here for it.
So He-Man somehow makes it through these guys unscathed. Suddenly, Tila and Duncan, the man-at-arms, show up as the battle's winding down, and everyone's super excited to see each other alive.
See, they're rocking the just generic sci-fi costumes.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They tell him that the battle at Grayskull was a massacre, that Skeletor's army appeared out of nowhere and just wiped everyone out. Then they hear someone crying for help, and it's coming from whatever was tangled up in that net from before.
Tila was ready to kill immediately.
Which is a theme throughout the movie. She's like ready to take action at any point.
Yes.
Just murder. So they free the small, hairy, troll-looking thing from the net, ask who he is, and that's Gwildor. That's Billy Barty of Thenur,
Locksmith and inventor.
the Thenurian, who was mentioned earlier by Evelyn, and he's being hunted by Skeletor's forces. They want to know why, and he tells them, I'd better show you. Follow me.
What were you guys' feelings about Gwildor?
I mean, when I was a kid, and I mentioned this to you guys before the podcast, but this was the first movie I ever saw, right? And
That's amazing.
First movie in the theater.
love
I
that
have
so
the whole
much.
memory of it. I brought some of the toys with me. I had He-Man, and I had Faker, who was the blue one with the orange hair. He
Yeah.
had like the recording stuff on him, but it's just like a sticker you could take off. But I was so excited about this movie, and when Gwildor showed up, my first thought was, where the fuck is Orko?
Exactly. That was the exact thought that I had.
Yeah,
I was listening to director
that was
commentary
it.
this morning, and he said basically they didn't have the money to do a creature that was flying every time you
Sure.
saw him, which I guess makes sense, but it's also sad. I feel like for this movie, we don't deserve any better than Gwildor. Like,
Shit.
I mean, Orko is not like high art, man. You could have
No.
just had a guy with a big long coat and a hat and a scarf around his face. I
he's
mean,
had a more iconic look. Orko did.
Yeah, definitely.
Like-
Gwildor looks like something from Jim Henson's Creature Shop, just like some stock creature that they had laying around.
He's the little comic relief troll that we deserve.
He sort of looks, he's a cross between a troll and Snarf
Oh,
from
Fuzz
Thundercats with the
Thundercats.
ears and stuff that like sort of poke up in the air.
Hell yes.
Anyway, Gwildor leads them back to his home/workshop.
There's a weird line when they get there, right? About, I remember when you didn't have to lock your doors. Those days will come back. It's like some right-wing
I thought the same thing.
Reagan shit.
It's like, okay. He gets them all inside and locks the place down hard once they're inside.
They also had a little chain lock at the end,
that was a nice
which is
touch.
a comic touch, I think, right?
The place is like a cave filled with all sorts of gadgets. Gwildor says that Skeletor wants him because of one of his inventions, which he's just happened to got like laying.
I just keep it on the floor here
in the open. He picks up this little device from off screen, and it's a prototype that Skeletor doesn't know about, and he calls it the Cosmic Key. He hits the play button, and the thing cranks up, and he starts explaining that it creates tones that can open a portal to anywhere.
I thought it was a pretty cool MacGuffin.
Yeah.
The Cosmic Key.
It looks interesting.
It had a great design, right?
It does, and I've remembered it all these years. But the thing that sticks with me the most is that it's clearly playing a Tears for Fears song.
Shit!
The one.
Yes. That's badass, dude. In the spirit of nothing about this movie seeming original, I felt like his little lab or whatever it is felt like an amalgamation of like Doc Brown's lab plus Yoda's hut, in Dagobah,
Totally.
plus Miracle Max, Princess Bride, plus that wizard in Neverending Story, the dude who was like overseeing the oracles or whatever. It was just like, this place was nuts, man.
Yeah.
I love Billy Barty's performance though. Like he was another dude who was just
is awesome,
going for it, man.
And
like
lovable.
Langella.
So He-Man immediately guesses correctly that's how Skeletor got his army into the city and into the castle for the attack. Gwildor's like, yep, that's exactly how it happened. Teela calls him a little worm.
Teela's aggressive.
Kill him again.
She's aggressive. She had that, and she was reminding me of Princess Leia a little bit, just like little aggression.
But in like a Tron outfit.
Yeah, it totally looks like a Tron outfit. Yeah, good call. He-Man, sweet guy, defends Gwildor, saying that there's no way he could have known Skeletor's intentions. And Gwildor says that Thenurians are naturally peaceful and trusting people. And he says that a woman came to see him, saying she'd heard about his fame as a locksmith and was interested in his work. She was beautiful. How was I to know she came from Snake Mountain?
Famous locksmiths get all the ladies.
Yeah. Well, they're peaceful and trusting people.
He got honeypotted. Like
by
the little horny Thenurian.
I know.
Did they fuck? Him and Evelyn?
I don't know. I don't know what Thenurian's sex organs are like, or if Evelyn's even. Evelyn is into sex, or at least into torture.
I don't know. I wondered if she appeared as herself or as like another.
I wondered that too. Yeah, does she appear
Thenurian? Hot Thenurian.
That would have been awesome. Hot Thenurians. It sounds like a show or a catalog or a magazine. Anyway, Gwildor says she tricked him and stole the key. He-Man asks if they can use the prototype to transport to Grayskull to rescue the sorceress. Gwildor says yes, but if you turn it on, Skeletor's going to know where you are. Which, hey, he literally just had.
That's
it turned
important
on.
to know throughout the film, though, is that this thing's like a tracking device, or like a homing device almost.
He just had it turned on.
He was just fucking
Did
around
he
with
forget? Like he just had it turned on. Anyway, this is the first of many times that the mechanics and the rules of the Cosmic Key don't make sense.
Okay.
He's like, no, don't turn it on. Like I had just done. Anyway, but just then an alarm starts going off, and we see outside some of Skeletor's stormtroopers are there with a weird-looking creature called Karg in the lead. He's not a cartoon character, not an action figure.
There's a weird, needless little in shot of them trampling his garden, or whatever it was he had.
They have no respect for the natural world, I guess. It's like just destroying geodes. Destroying Gwildor's rock garden. Gwildor leads the good guys to a secret way out to the tunnels underneath. This goes out to the tunnels underneath Grayskull.
He says,
Why does Gwildor have a system of caves that lead to Grayskull?
I don't think he built the caves, right?
No.
They just existed? They built them on top of caves? I don't know. But
why would not the sorceress or He-Man or whomever have shut that shit down?
They do just pop up in the throne room shortly.
Right. Literally.
Without having used the key.
Oh, no. I got a cave that goes straight. Why do you have a cave that goes to the throne room?
No one suspects the Thenurian.
They all flee, Gwildor grabbing the key before skedaddling, saying he doesn't like adventures.
The director said that was a Lord of the Rings homage. Is that something that someone says in Lord of the Rings or in The Hobbit?
Bilbo.
One of the Bilbo is like, I hate adventures or something
Yeah.
like this? Okay. That also is just a line that's perfect for trailers, right?
Yeah, sure.
The bad guys break in, and Karg, with his epic mullet, says, "Find the key! Tear this place apart!" Great makeup on him, though. His look is crazy.
I dig him.
He looks like a hair metal guy gone wrong, though, especially with that long flowing mane.
He looks like a character from the last movie we did, the Feral Kid from Road Warrior. He had the hairdo.
So meanwhile, He-Man and the others have taken the tunnels directly into the throne room at Grayskull. The joint's completely empty. He-Man points out, he's like, no, Skeletor is here. I know he's waiting for us.
This feels like a trap.
Because it is.
Then they're like, oh shit, there's the sorceress. Let's go.
This is also the first of many times while they're sneaking around that I realized, it looks like Duncan doesn't know how to, carry a weapon. He doesn't know how to, operate a gun. Anyway.
That's probably true. I mean, I don't think they went into all that weapons training.
Maybe not.
In this era.
Then they see the sorceress, and they run up to her. We're here to rescue you. It sounds sort of like a Stallone thing going. I'm sorry about that. But she says she's trapped in an energy field and that only Skeletor can dissolve it, and they should leave because they're in great danger. Yeah, no shit. They don't want to leave without her, and they put Gwildor to work using the cosmic key to open up a door on the other side of this very
within
small,
the phone booth size.
I feel like that would kill the sorceress, but whatever.
She could be cut in half.
Yep, possibly,
right?
Yeah, based on what we see later on. But again, the rules, we don't know what the rules are. The sorceress says Skeletor is draining her power, but I can withstand him until moonrise, when the great eye opens on the universe.
It's just mythos on top of mythos,
right?
And it doesn't make any sense.
It sounds cool, though, right?
Sure.
It sounds very cool.
That was a very specific time that she knew how long she could withstand his
I like that they're a lunar society when it comes to their mythology or their
moonrise.
to their religion.
Which apparently is when the moon reaches its apex is moonrise, or is it when the moon appears on the horizon?
Sorceress could tell us.
I didn't study my astronomy.
I'm going to say apex because that's clearly what happens later.
They mention it
I think
later.
It is the apex.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it is. Just then, wouldn't you know, Skeletor's army begins to just trot up in that great hall.
He-Man's like, everyone hide.
Where?
I'm going to stand here in the open. You guys hide.
Yeah. Skeletor enters, sizes up the situation, says he's been waiting so very long for this moment. He-Man demands Skeletor let the sorceress go. Skeletor's like, nah. Skeletor says that her power... This is the third time someone says... Her powers are transferring to me, and when the moon reaches its zenith, the great eye will open, and all the powers of Grayskull will go to him, and the sorceress will die.
You got to hammer it in for these 7-year-olds there watching it for real, though. That's what it is.
So wait, all the power of Grayskull is concentrated within the sorceress and not the sword?
It's very confusing.
Yeah.
I feel like the sword is a non sequitur at this point. It is merely a weapon that the guardian of Grayskull uses.
Hey, Turk. Come here, Turk. Give me that.
Oh, what a good boy.
Sorry, buddy.
He wants to be in the podcast, too. The sword's it doesn't matter.
Right.
It seems like what matters is the castles and the vortex of the universe.
Uh-huh.
And I guess maybe this is some, I don't know, particularly important day or something.
That's a great point, too. It's why...
Moonrise on this particular day, the eye opens? I don't think it opens every night, does it?
What I don't understand is he's already beaten He-Man, and he has his all-powerful army. What else does he need to do?
Yeah.
Well, and later on, he gets all those powers he's talking about, and he still gets his ass kicked.
Yeah, we're going to talk. We're going to talk at length about all of that because none of this makes sense. It's I don't understand the relationship, how the power of the universe works between the castle, the sorceress, and the sword. Maybe.
Did you notice Duncan is just straight rolling his eyes during the speech?
He's heard enough. Her life, and he's like, I dare anything. I am Skeletor.
He's killing it. Yeah. Though Langella is killing it.
Yeah, he tells them to throw down their weapons and pledge loyalty. He-Man says, it's not the sorceress you want, it's me. It's always been about us. It's like, okay. And we do get, like, Skeletor's obsessed, straight obsessed with He-Man.
Yes.
Like,
there's
100%.
a lot of obsession in this movie.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to talk about more as we go.
It's like over the top. Like a truck.
Like a truck.
So Evelyn at that point notices Gwildor back there fiddling with the prototype. It's the locksmith. The little worm has another key.
That's the second time in like 5 minutes he's been called a worm.
By two different women.
Two different characters.
Yeah. So Skeletor gives the order, kill them! And all hell breaks loose. Everyone starts shooting. Duncan tells Gwildor to use the key to get them out of there.
He-Man draws his completely useless sword.
I'm going to deflect some blaster bolts. Gwildor warns them, I'm not sure where we're going. So he's just like matching buttons on the thing, like just pressing all the buttons he can. He-Man's reluctant to leave the sorceress, but she says she still has until moonrise and y'all have to go. He's like, I won't leave her. It's like, why? You're doubling down on not leaving.
He is doing
go.
a Stallone impression now. That's like his version of his accent is just Stallone.
Yeah, I definitely think that's what it is. Okay. So we see a portal opens. Teela and Duncan dive through. One of the stormtroopers shoots the key out of Gwildor's hand. He-Man scoops up Gwildor and dives into the portal. Skeletor shouting for his guys to get the key, but then out of the portal comes a grappling hook, which latches onto the key and jerks it into the portal as it closes.
Dude, you know I love a grappling hook. Kyle probably doesn't know, but anytime there's a grappling hook in a movie, it just like it catches my imagination.
Oh yeah,
like yes, fucking grappling hooks, dude.
Yeah, Skeletor starts
old school.
Yeah, he's like demanding like track them down, bring the prototype to me. Evelyn points out that Gwildor was just over there mashing buttons willy-nilly, and that there's no way to tell where they went. But Skeletor's like, all right, well, whenever they try to use it again, track them. And he says. He gives some Ricky Bobby logic here that He-Man lives and possesses the key. I must possess all, or I possess nothing.
If you're not first, you're last.
If you're not first, you're last, baby. So
kudos to Langella because he's doing the impossible. Here, like with the material he's got, he's delivering a strong performance.
It's amazing. So then we get like somewhere in a mountainous region. There's some blue lightning, which I love. Blue lightning in the sky. A portal opens, and the gang they come flying out hot.
Blue lightning is your version of a grappling hook. Like
totally.
Anytime there's a movie with the blue lightning effect,
I'm like, yeah, that's badass. So everyone comes out unscathed except for poor Gwildor, who's like stuck face down in a pond. He-Man saves him from drowning. Duncan and Teela laugh at Gwildor's near death.
They love that shit.
Because we just did Road Warrior. It reminded me of the moment when the toady gets his fingers cut off from like trying to catch the boomerang, and all of Humongous' men have a good laugh at his expense.
Well, that's what I would say to people like during pandemic was like, man, seeing someone running naked down the street, that's like the closest thing we can get to a movie or something in these times. That's like the closest we can get to a show.
I know. So Gwildor blows some water out of his clogged gill slits, and apologizes profusely.
The vibe of this movie is like very Power Rangers.
Oh, sure.
That's a great
Saban-like style of...
Yeah.
I know. I had just seen Psycho Gorman, which is like this Power Rangers parody that a lot of people are like kind of vibing on that just came out. So it was especially in my mind.
It's newly made?
It just came out this
year. I need to check that out.
Yeah,
that's
what's
awesome.
it called?
Psycho Gorman.
Psycho Gorman. Okay. Listeners, check it out.
Putting it on my list now.
Where can we watch it? As you said, YouTube?
Yeah, anywhere streaming.
It's not on a platform.
It was on Shudder at last, I think.
Okay. Rad.
So gill slits, right?
That's what he said.
And then Gwildor, they all tell Gwildor, hey man, we got to get back to Eternia right now. Gwildor says, I have no idea where in the universe we are because I was rushing to open a portal, you assholes. Teela wants to fuck him up immediately. She
just like goes at him.
He-Man says to calm your shit and that we're all in this together. Duncan then asks how we're going to get home if we don't even know where we are. And Gwildor says that the key stores the coordinates from home, for home, for Eternia. And if you're following along, you write it all down and send it to us so that we understand. And at that moment, Gwildor notices that his grapple gun that was attached to the key is now no longer attached to the key, and that the key is gone. It's somewhere, in wherever they are.
He's lucky they can drop it within the wormhole, I guess.
Right.
Then I don't know what would happen.
Dimension altogether. Yeah, maybe where a movie is better.
Dude, I felt like the Gwildor effects just vary wildly from scene to scene. Like in this one, he's got articulating ears.
Sure.
The gill slits like gag was kind of cool. And then in later scenes, it's just like he's motionless.
Yeah, most of the rest of the time, his mouth doesn't even move when he talks.
Yeah.
It's just sort of in a vague smile.
I think this was one of the early scenes in the film where I think they were paying more attention to that shit.
Yeah. So, they hear something rustling in the brush. Duncan takes out a device that makes a straight cartoon noise. He goes, and then says it's getting a reading on a big alien life form.
Which the device was in no way indicating that anything was moving towards them. There was one little dot on the thing and it was moving away from them, or away from what should have been them, but
you
whatever.
don't know how that thing works.
That's
you don't
true.
know how that Eternian tech works.
Accurate.
Tila wants to kill whatever it is.
Just come out. That's
She's
her
a hothead.
Yes.
But He-Man stops her from blasting away and a cow steps out.
Is that supposed to make us instantly think Earth?
Yeah.
This could only be Earth?
Yeah. But where? I mean, the actual sort of like topography doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Much of the rest of the
right.
movie.
It's convenient that these English-speaking Eternians
that's another
pop
gripe
up
that I
in
have.
an English-speaking part of the world.
That's another
not in the middle of the
huge
ocean.
gripe I have with this movie is that, like, do Eternians speak English? Do they read the Phoenician alphabet? Like, is that the way this works?
It's convenient as hell.
So the cow moves. The audience laughed, I'm sure. I don't remember.
Big laugh line for the cow.
Yeah, and Gwildor tries to strike up a conversation. Maybe it's intelligent. He-Man lays out the plan.
Oh wait, it's 0.84 chromons till moonrise. Everyone.
I feel like that's a little over a half of a day.
Why
right?
are they bothering with chromon? But they haven't told us what a
almost 2
chromon
days.
is. That means nothing to us, right?
No.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like hand waving away their own sort of metric system.
Yeah.
Eternia has a metric system, but they don't have, they still fight with swords and shit. So.
They do speak English.
They speak English, but yeah, okay.
He-Man lays out the plan. Find the key, transport back into the castle, save the universe. They synchronize their personal locators and split up to go looking for the key. We also get the first statement of the line, "Good journey," which I have loved ever since I first saw this movie. Love that.
I want to know, how is the key not right there where they all popped out of the hole, where they all popped through the portal?
They were going
how is it
real
somewhere
fast.
else?
We don't know.
Right? I mean, they literally landed right outside where the hole had opened, so it just made me like, how did the key wind up elsewhere?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that, like, it's not impossible to believe that if they came out of there going as fast as they appeared to in the movie, that the key could be several hundred yards
mile
away.
or something
but
away.
also, they would all be dead, except for ostensibly He-Man.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I don't know.
we're gonna have to talk. We're gonna have to say all that shit for another episode because we're fresh out of time.
I'm fresh out of patience for this movie, but I'll be back next week.
Good journey, everyone.
Kyle, wait, hold on. While we got Kyle here, is there anything you wanted to plug? Your website, your Twitter,
Yeah, hit us.
Yeah,
Tell
man.
us, bro.
Weekly reviews of all the new release films as they come out, whenever they come out, over at screenrex.com. That's where you can find them.
Spell it.
CRENREX.com.
Like the dinosaur.
Yeah,
Love
like
it.
T-Rex, but with a screen in front of it.
I love it.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on, and we'll be back.